A warm welcome to each one of you to this panel discussion on a topic that has become increasingly relevant in our digital age, cyber harassment. I am honored to welcome you all
This
as we
meeting is being recorded.
address the challenges posed by the rapid spurt of digital technology and the omnipresence of internet on everyday life in India. My name is Swati Mirani. I am the senior manager of the Rakshin project at Sakshi. Cyber harassment transcends geographical boundaries, affects individuals across ages, genders, and socioeconomic backgrounds. The statistics paint a sobering picture. In 2021, 4.8 billion people worldwide were on social media, representing nearly 61% of the world's total population. Shockingly, 33% of these users, predominantly youth, reported being victims of online bullying in 30 countries worldwide. Closer to home, India has witnessed a rapid rise in digital connectivity with a significant portion of the population, including women and children, becoming active users of social media. The National Crime Records Bureau reported a staggering 63.4% increase in cyber crime cases from 2018 to 2019, and a further rise from 44,000 cases to 50,000 cases in 2020. Among these cases, cyber stalk, cyberbullying, cyber blackmailing, defamation, fake profiles, and fake news were distressingly prevalent. The anonymity offered by internet brings to forefront the severe consequences of the mental health of victims, leading to anxiety, depression, tragically in extreme cases, suicide. The objective of this discussion is to foster a safer and more inclusive digital environment in India. As we embark on this panel discussion, it is crucial to acknowledge that addressing cyber harassment requires a heterogeneous approach involving strengthening legal provisions, raising awareness, promoting digital literacy, and fostering collaboration among stakeholders are all crucial components of the solution. The contemporary nature of this phenomena and the limited secondary research in the field highlights the urgency facilitated by comprehensive research, policy development, and community engagement. In conclusion, let us use this platform to engage in meaningful discourse, share insights, and work collaboratively towards creating a safer digital space for all. I am confident that collective wisdom and expertise of our esteemed panelists will pave the way for actionable solutions to combat cyber harassment effectively. I would like to welcome our panelists, Professor Krishna Menon. Ma'am is a professor in gender studies and is currently the dean of School of Human Sciences at Ambedkar University, Delhi. Her areas of interest include political theory, Indian politics, feminist theory, and politics. She has published several books, papers, and articles in the above field. Ma'am was awarded the Teacher of Distinction Award by the Vice Chancellor of the University of Delhi in 2009. She is also on the editorial board of International Feminist Journal of Politics. Dr. Pavan Duggal. Sir is an advocate at Supreme Court of India. He is also the founder and conference director of the International Conference on Cyber Law, Cybercrime, and Cybersecurity. He is also the president of cyberlaws.net. He has had several leadership roles in the field of cybersecurity law, mobile law, and Sir has contributed to evolving strategy recommendations on artificial intelligence and legalities. Dr. Yuki Azad Tomar. Dr. Yuki Azad Tomar is an educationalist, researcher, filmmaker. She is assistant professor of development communication and extension and journalism in Delhi University for more than a decade. She has passion for understanding people and how technology can help people be smarter, happier, and more fulfilled. She obtained her PhD in journalism and new media studies for her research on designing and evaluating digital media messages for HIV and AIDS awareness amongst rural women in India. Besides this, she has authored several books such as ICT 4D, Information Communication Technology for Development, Communication Technology for Development. She is co-founder of NGO Mitra, which uses media for social change. Mitra has produced several documentaries and short films that have won national and international awards at film festivals. Mr. Sakshi Duggal, he is a practicing advocate in Delhi High Court with a keen interest in law and technology. He is three times TED speaker and has spoken at Defense Research and Development Organization and the National Institute of Disaster Management on the topic of artificial intelligence and emerging opportunities. Sakshi serves as the advisor for academic outreach at Cyber Law University, an online platform specializing in cyber law and cybersecurity law education. He is dedicated to promoting awareness of legal issues in cyberspace and the internet. Drishya Duggal. She is a budding cyber psychology student who is exploring and identifying various facets of psychology in today's digital age. She's a regular speaker of international conference on cyber law, cybercrime, and cybersecurity. Ma'am Taranjeet Kaur. She is an Indian actress and poet known for her Oscar-winning German film Raju. She has many award-winning clinical psychology and trained in theatre with Neelam Man Singh in
This meeting is being recorded.
A cybersecurity specialist with 15 plus years of experience in the industry, he has designed, configured, maintained, and supported businesses' critical operations. With a heavy focus on critical infrastructure cybersecurity, he has provided infrastructure design, recommendation, application support, product support, and consultancies to different clients. He is an accomplished cybersecurity professional with several international recognitions and certifications from ISC2 and ISACA. Smita Bharti ma'am. Smita Bharti ma'am is the executive director and president of Sakshi. Ms. Smita Bharti is a change maker and social arts practitioner who has been working in the development sector for more than 30 years. Using her love for stories, poems, and theatre, she has worked with far-flung communities, survivors of gender-based violence, and jail births. She strongly believes that the dream of ending violence can become a reality with collective action and participation. With this purpose and vision, Ms. Smita Bharti carries forward Sakshi's legacy to end gender based violence for all, including women, children, youth, vulnerable, and marginalized groups. Acknowledging the pronounced nature of cyber harassment as a critical concern globally, Sakshi brings forth a short work of art, Be Bekhauf, that showcases cyber harassment and its impact on individuals. Through the film, we bring forth the vulnerability of the victim, who are often targeted through these platforms, leading to several emotional, psychological, and sometimes physical consequences. After the screening of this film, I open the floor for discussion. Thank you.
अरे साली, धरती पर बोझ हो तुम जैसे लोग मर क्यों नहीं जा सकते? वैसे ही बात किसी को इतना मत करिए। स्टेशन और बड़े स्टॉप क्रैकिंग से वी विल टुगेदर गैंग रेप।
फैशन के नाम पर बस अब नंगा ही घूमना बाकी रह गया है, वो भी कर लो। हेल्प चाहिए तो मेरा नंबर दूं?
अरे तुझे दिखाना है तो पूरा दिखाना। ये टीजर क्या देके जा रही है?
शॉट लगाएंगे, ज्यादा बोलेगी तो तेरी पिक्चर एडिट करके वायरल कर दूंगा।
घर पे आने का कितना लेगी?
ए चल चुप रंडी, बड़ी गंदी सी है, घोड़े जैसा मुंह, कुछ भी नहीं है आगे तुम्हारे।
फेक साली, धरती पर बोझ हो तुम जैसे लोग मर क्यों नहीं जाते? I want sisters of such comedians to be raped so that they go in depression and stop cracking sick jokes.
पॉपुलर होना है ना तेरे को मैं करता हूँ तुझे पॉपुलर
छोटे कपड़े ये भी क्या
feminist you have got on sounds nice.
कोई क्लास ही नहीं है
I wonder what color sneakers she has
What?
got.
She has no headlights, no bumper, huh?
सर्विस अवेलेबल
What's your rate?
इसको इंडिया में बैन ही कर
There's your night suit
पूरे
नहीं आ
इंडियन
गई.
कल्चर की वाट लगा दी
पूरे मुंह पे बस वोट दिख रहा
Learn to dress like a woman.
क्यों खुला हुआ है?
और फैबुलस का है टॉक्स को नंगी
कितना लेगी? सब कपड़े खोल दो ना.
Sometimes it's fun.
जैसे
Oh,
कि
why
इंडिया में
can
बैन ही
they
कर
consider
दिया
that
पूरे इंडियन
feminist you
कल्चर
have
की
got
वाट
on
लगा दी
sounds
नॉट
nice.
अट्रैक्टिव इनफ फॉर
I wonder what color sneakers she has
क्यों
got.
खुला हुआ है?
रिपोर्ट करो
I would like to start this discussion now with Professor Krishna Menon. Ma'am, as an academic specialization in gender studies, could you provide insights into the ramification of cyberbullying on individuals, taking into account the distinctive interplay of cultures, social factors in the context of India?
Thank you, Swati, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to be a part of a discussion that is so significant for our times. Thank you, Smita ji, for thinking of me and having me here. It's a great pleasure. So I would like to begin by saying that, yes, indeed, it is a big challenge. However, we should not exceptionalize cyberbullying because, in my opinion, it's really an extension of the kind of social fault lines that we see in our society today. So violence and bullying is something that we as a people seem to be comfortable with, and we seem to justify it. So whether it is familial violence, violence that parents perpetrate towards their children, children fighting in the park, young people demonstrating violent behavior towards their elderly relatives. There are many instances of this. And then street violence, street harassment, structural violence of poverty, caste, violence based on gender and sexuality. So you name it, and we have a wide spectrum, unfortunately. And India is no exception. So I don't think we have to sort of, indulge in breastbeating and say, oh, we are so terrible. The world over, I think there is a justification for violence, and people who advocate non-violent ways of living, from Gandhi to Martin Luther and everybody else, have always had a very slim following. Even as we speak today in West Asia, we are seeing, really mindless violence unfolding. So cyberbullying has to be placed in this larger context where many of us believe that violence is a justified way in which to assert your power, to show your authority, and to negotiate conflict situations. So parents do it at home. There's domestic violence. Children are encouraged by parents sometimes. Go beat your bully in the park. If she's bullying you, don't take it lying down. This is the way we justify a culture of violence. Our media does it. So I don't think cyberspace should be singled out for that. It's really a reflection of the malaise that affects our world as a whole. That's one thing. Having said that, I'd really like to say this, that cyber technology, digital spaces can be, like most other new technologies, can be empowering as well as debilitating. It depends upon the context, it depends upon who is using it, and it depends upon the relationships in society. So while the cyberspace may look like an anonymous space, Swati used that word very correctly, but the fact is that this anonymity is only anonymous as far as individual names are concerned. It reflects all the social contradictions. So it is technology, but it is technology that reflects, reproduces, and reinforces all the social contradictions. So whatever you see in our society, you're going to see on cyberspace. So I don't think one should be, sort of taken aback. Just because the technology seems modern, it doesn't mean that it escapes the social contradictions within which it is located. The people using this technology remain pretty much the same. It's you and I and people like us. We bring all our prejudices and all our concerns and anxieties to the cyber platform also. Having said that, as a teacher in the university, as a person who supervises doctoral work and new thinking. So Swati, you said it's really important for us to think afresh about this. And I'm really happy to say that, I can think of at least 3 of my doctoral students who have done excellent work on cyberspace, on digitality, on digital technology. And not all is from the point of view of victims, that, oh, it's so sad, women have been victimized. Women are also learning to use technology to their advantage and for leisure. It really gladdened my heart to see my student Garima Kumari's work. She actually looked at women in certain parts of Delhi, which may be described as underprivileged, and she looked at their use of TikToks before it was banned, and how they made, little videos for themselves with their friends, and they enjoyed their afternoons watching each other and also, making these kind of dance reels and all of that. So they are able to derive pleasure unmediated by their husbands and in-laws and families. Of course, they do it on the sly. Some of them have, fake accounts. Some of them use their son's account because they don't want to be caught out, but they are enjoying. So digitality has given this liberatory kind of platform also. So when we talk about violence, we should be very careful, because the tendency in our country is to immediately say that, okay, then let's not give women mobile phones. Let's put a ban on digital technology for women. It's like saying, recently I heard that in some states in India, women students cannot go for tuition after 6 o'clock because it's unsafe. I think it should be the other way around, perhaps. Men students should not be going for tuitions after 6, if that is the case. So we have to move away from this protectionist discourse. Law has a very important role to play, but we need to understand that there is no there's no uniform experience of the digital platforms and of cyberspace. Women like us, we know how to navigate and use, and we are sort of, we are aware. But there are many young women who are reproducing the anxieties of being a woman in India when they become part of the digital platform. And the men who come to the digital platform bring their anxieties and prejudices. So that powerful video that you showed us, those men, and that's the last point I'll make right now. So instead of speaking only about the victims, I think it's really important for us to speak about the perpetrators. And our student Isha Yadav has actually done a spectacular rape museum. That's her PhD work. She has collated many, many, many rape threats on Instagram that young women have received. And what is really important for us is to peep into the hearts and minds of those men who are so debased as to make those kinds of threats. We are living in a toxic society, a society where men feel that they should and they can say this. They really need therapy. They need treatment. They need help. women will look after themselves. They'll go speak to their girlfriends, mothers, teacher. But these men, they think that this is what manliness means. And that's the crisis, really. The crisis of cyberbullying is not really so much for the victim, in my opinion, as much as it is for the perpetrators, because it's showing us glimpses of sick minds, literally sick minds that need mental health assistance immediately. So I'll stop at that, and I'm sure others have lots of interesting things to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Your words were an enrichment, and I can feel that this is such an interesting start to the discussion. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would want to move to Dr. Yuki Azad. Ma'am, you are also an academician. Your specialization in development, communication, and extension. How do you foresee leveraging technology to proactively tackle the issue presented by cyberbullying?
Yeah. Thank you, Swati and Sakshi, for inviting me. Here we all are, all connected in a cyber realm, delving into the safety of this digital space. So, we are here today in the world where our screens often hold both connection and danger. So, the rise of cyber harassment and the questions being posed to me by Swati on the technology. I'm a person from media, and I would like to talk more about social media, the technology in social media and digital lives, and media in general. But this rise of cyber harassment has cast a shadow over our digital lives. India, a nation racing ahead in the digital race, is unfortunately leading the pack in cyberbullying stats, and Swati has shared horrifying facts. And it's not just about stats, it's about the real lives affected, sometimes tragically. I agree what Professor Menon just mentioned, that violence in the society is also transmitted into cyber world. So we cannot look into the cyber world in solace. Everything is interconnected. But yes, cyberbullying is like a sneaky chameleon. It takes various forms, from spreading lies and nasty comments to being left out of digital circles, as we saw in the movie. And its impact, it's gut wrenching, shattering self worth, seeding anxiety, and in the worst cases, leading to tragic outcomes like suicides. And we have seen this coming in news several times. But amidst all this, there's hope, my friends. We hold the keys to make a change. And as an academician, I can say education is our superpower. Teaching our kids, parents, teachers, and communities about the digital world's ins and outs. With knowledge comes the armor against this threat. And there has been incident in Maharashtra, and they led the charge of tackling cyberbullying by education in schools and colleges. And you know what? There were reported cases which took a nosedive. So knowledge is power, and it's. But by saying so, I'm not putting all the onuses on schools and colleges and parents. Our digital guardians, social media platforms need to step up. So maybe tighter rules, easy ways to report, and using smart tech to zap cyberbullying content. These are the shields we need in our online fort. Of course, the government is on it too. Their cybercrime prevention initiatives, helplines, and report portals is a glimmer of hope. But we need more muscle, teamwork across the board. Being a person from media, we have an incredible knack for shaping perceptions and sparking change, especially in tackling cyberbullying. We can do that. Let's take a look at how they work their magic. Imagine this. A news channel runs a segment discussing the stories of cyberbullying survivor. They delve deep into the emotional toll, showing the resilience of these individuals. Viewers connect, empathize, and suddenly cyberbullying isn't just a distant problem. It's something that hits home. That empathy leads to action. Parents start talking about these issues with their kids. School revamp their digital safety programs, and social media platforms gear up with their anti-bullying policies. So this is all a chain reaction which media should initiate, and they have already started working on it. And Sakshi just showed a film, so which is one of the examples of that. There and nowadays, when most of the youth or most of us are just reeling, we have mobile phones in our hands, and on Instagram and in social media, we just move our fingers up and we are looking at reels. Why do we do that? There's a power of storytelling in social media. So we got influencers, we have content creators, and everyday users sharing their experiences on combating cyberbullying can be one of the ways to fight this. They turn their platforms into safe haven. If the influencers on social media platforms start talking about it, they start talking about the bullying they are facing and how they can stop it, I'm sure that there can be ripple effect, and it's contagious. People start rethinking on their online behavior, choosing empathy over cruelty. The media is very powerful. Social media is all the more powerful. And let's craft a digital world where safety rules, where kindness clicks, and where cyberbullying is just a distant memory. So, with this, I would like to end my talk and want to continue with it. Thank you, everyone. Together, let's make a digital space a heaven and not a battlefield. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Swati.
Thank you, ma'am. Indeed, we really have to look forward to a peaceful and a safe, inclusive digital environment in India. Now, I would like to move to Taranjeet Kaur. Ma'am, as a prominent figure with substantial social media presence, how do you manage and confront the growing challenges associated with cyber harassment? Could you provide insights into your approach to handling these challenges?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to Sakshi, Smita, Bharti, Swati, everybody, for having me on this panel. And it's wonderful listening to everybody. And obviously, every time you listen, you find a new insight into the whole thing. The film obviously is beautiful. I would say I come from a background of theater and going to cinema, working as an actor. But my venturing into the space of social media primarily started in the last 4 5 years. Once I started doing spoken word poetry, where I felt that as a woman, I had a lot of things that I wanted to say, and which fortunately resonated with a lot of other women all over the country in the tiniest of village or town, and also all over the world. And that's when at the same time, when one understood that social media could have such a great and large impact in reaching out to people at different corners of the world. Uh, I also realized the ugly side of social media when you get trolled and you are called names. My initial way of handling was I was told by my mentor or the person handling the channel was to not read the comments, because my very first poem was called I'm Not a Virgin, where I basically raised the question that why is it expected of a girl or a woman to be virgin when they marry, while there's no way of proving that a man is a virgin. So obviously through my writings and poetry, I've always raised questions which have made people uncomfortable. So from the very first piece, I was being trolled and said every kind of thing I was told. Initially, I would not look at the comments, but recently I released a piece called Sex Education, where I felt that it's so important. It is our responsibility as parents to be the first ones to provide sex education to our kids, and it should not be left at to the kids who are 7 8 10 year old, and they would get hold of a phone or internet or somehow find all the wrong means to know about sex. And I think that was the very first time where I got affected by the comments and the things that were said to me, because they started attacking my kids. I was talking about a conversation between me and my son, and they attacked my son. And I think anybody who's a parent or a mother here would understand that it is the most disturbing thing when anyone says anything about your child. And that's when I started looking into the ways how to deal with this problem. The easiest way, what comes at the end of the film, is report it. So my first way of dealing with it is that every time they put a comment which is not in sync with, which is inappropriate, which is disrespectful, or anyway is not going in sync with what we are trying to say, is just to report. Um, Fortunately, the space where I work in, YouTube and Instagram, they are very good with dealing with these reports. You can block. Second step is to block the person who is repeatedly putting such any kind of vulgar comments, or in any way are trying to harm your image, or harm the community you're working in. Of course, that's another way of dealing with it. Yeah, and I think also what another panelist said, Yuki said that that we have to find out ways what are the advantages we can take from the social media. What is the best way? As far as Smita knows, that during the pandemic we started an organization called Pad Squad, which works for the menstrual hygiene of women. I mean, I have never seen anything benefiting so much from social media the way Pad Squad benefited, like just putting one post on Facebook. And also because there were a lot of influencers in the group, but in less than a month we had thousands of people reaching out to us from all over the country and actually volunteering, and they started working with us. So there can be a very good positive impact of this whole thing. There is definitely a very could be harmful effect, especially I would say if as parents we take responsibility of not handling those smartphones to our young kids. I'm sure there could be other ways of reaching your child when they're out of the house. I mean, even if you just need to reach the child for the longest time, I would just give, those simple phones where you can just make a phone call. I mean, I would just give that phone to my child, because end of the day, you want to be just sure that your child is safe when you're not around them. So that is one step. Definitely reporting. And I see people like Sahil is there. He's from cyber security. There should be more awareness of people who could help when you need to report these cyber crimes. Uh, there are incidents that happen to a lot of young girls, women, influencers, everybody. Especially when young girls, they could indulge in chatting or other things. Someone's taken some wrong photographs. They have to understand everything can be reported. You are safer to report a crime rather than trying to protect yourself or your child by hiding it, because that could rather affect your and your child's mental health much more than what you gain by reporting. Yeah, I mean, and I think when you are on social media, whether you're a man or a woman, like anything that's affecting your mental health by, there is a lot of bullying going on in social media. No matter whether you put a content which is good or bad or anything, there will be people who constantly just want to bully you. I think whenever that happens, my first step is to just stop the comments. There's a way, there's a button that's, you have an option in advanced settings where you can just stop the comments. So these are some very small tools that I would say that you can use to protect yourself, to protect your children from cyberbullying or cyber crimes. And yeah, if I think of something else, I would definitely come back to it. Thank you. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Thank you very much. Your insights were quite deep, and it gave us an idea of how someone in public sphere is able to feel sensitive to the harassment, the bullying, and the trolls. And the way you explained about the feeling that one has when their family is involved, that itself gives a clear idea that this really needs to stop, and the social media needs to be mellowed into a more safer and a more congenial place. Thank you. And I would like to now bring in Drisha Dugal and ask her perspective as a cyber psychology person on how she would want to navigate and address the increasing challenges linked to cyber harassment in India. Could you share your insights into your strategies for managing these difficulties, Drisha?
Thank you so much, Swati and Sakshi, for giving me this opportunity to be here and enlighten myself as well as others with my perspectives. So, when we talk about cyberbullying, we know that it has been now existing ever since the ongoing technology that has been coming up. And ever since that, individuals have had the access to computers, mobile phones, and other smart technologies. The act of cyberbullying is something that is seen very often and very prominently seen. Almost every person has somebody or knows someone, or it could be even themselves, who is going through a cyberbullying case or a cyberbullying scenario. So now we know that how common it is. So coming from a cyber psychology point of view, I believe that we do know the particular criminal acts that take place, but we also need to be make sure of the fact that what are the psychological implications about these acts, or what are the psychological basis on the basis of which these acts are taking place. Because any cyber crime that is taking place today in the cyberspace, it's taking place with a reason, with a cause. Like if we take an example of a normal hypothetical case study, for example, there is person X and there is person Y. Now, person X decides to bully person Y. But why? The reasons, what are the reasons underlying behind this behavior? It could be that the person X lacks attention, lacks the motive to be supported. He wants to prove his position in the cyberspace. Maybe in the offline world, person X does not have any kind of I would say, superiorness, or not any kind of dominance. So the person feels that there is a lack of a lot of elements of his personal human needs being fulfilled. So therefore, the person X decides to bully person number Y. And the person Y, he or she being bullied, goes through a number of changes. Now, we need to understand that when we talk about cyberbullying as a criminal act, it's not just a small act taking place. And second thing, that it's not an act that leads a very immediate effect, but also a very long lasting effect. Today, a person going through cyberbullying or cyber harassment may have an internal shock or an external shock to the situation, adapting to the situation. But there are also going to be the fact that there are a lot of long-term impacts on the person. It could be stress, emotional distress. It could also be leading to physical changes. For example, cyberbullying, again, it's a multifold act. It does not lead to only one single consequence, but a number of them. Today, if a person is going through as a victim of crime or cyberbullying, now the person experiences some psychological impacts. It could be stress, emotional roller coaster, that there is sudden collision of a lot of emotions. The person does not know what he or she is going through, and the person feels totally clueless and helpless as to what to do, what not to do, and the person is totally confused, utterly confused. So these are the emotional and mental impacts. But now these mental and emotional impacts can also lead to physical impacts. How? The person might alter his eating or sleeping patterns. He or she might have difficulty in eating or having daily normal meals. They might resort to smoking as a coping mechanism. So even leading to bad habits. So that's how we know that cyberbullying is a multifold impact, and it's leading to more mental health problems than ever. Today we are living in the time where not only cyberbullying, but a lot of other problems are also existing in correlation with the cyberspace. And as a result of which, we are seeing that there is a sudden upsurge of mental health. we really now are learning the importance that how important mental health is. Because mental health earlier than COVID-19 pandemic was not given much importance. It was given the importance that, okay, mental health does exist, but not to that of a superior level. So thankfully, we are becoming more aware of mental health. And again, coming from a cyber psychology point of view, two things that I really want to highlight here is that number one, before really accounting a particular act, that why it has taken place, we need to understand the psyche of the individual who has committed the act, number A, and B, that why the victim has committed such kind of act. Now, whatever goes in the psyche of the individual determines what he she does on in his online life and in his offline life as well. And coming to number two, when we realize that cyberbullying is taking place, we do educate individuals, we do cyber educate individuals so that they are aware of the cyberspace, they are aware of the psychological impacts as well. But one thing that is not given much importance is that once the person has gone through such kind of cybercrime, now what are the steps the person must take in a mental aspect, not in a cyber aspect. Today there are a number of individuals and sites and a lot of things that can give us the information as to what to do when you have been cyberbullied, but there are very less individuals or very less sites that can tell you that what to do when how to cope emotionally and mentally when you are going through such kind of things. So if you are really going through cyberbullying, number one, please seek help. Seek assistance not only in the form of just talking with individuals or reporting, that is necessary for sure. But another thing that becomes necessary is seeking counseling. Now, counseling is nothing that if you're going through a very hyper thing, that then only you have to go through it. It's no rule such that. But if you have gone through such a cyber crime, so you must seek counseling so that you are able to cope up with the situation emotionally, mentally, and you can also find a way how to de-stress yourself. So counseling becomes a very important aspect. Second thing, that we know that awareness is really important in today's age, and awareness is required at every end, be it at a child who is be it at the child's level who is using social media, or even at the adult's level who is actually using a lot of sites to handle his or her business. So certain modules and certain sessions can take place even in the workplace as well as in schools and universities to make people more aware of this. And when we talk about the schools, these are the major hotspots where these workshops should take place. Not only telling us how to be safe from cybercrimes and cyberbullying and cyber harassment, but also telling us what to do when you go through them and how to cope emotionally and mentally, so that the child becomes aware. Because the school age is the main age, or I would say the major prominent age where the person is vulnerable to go into such things. Either they bully or they are being bullied, because they get the use and access to social media and they get the access to mobile phones, that the person is quite vulnerable to be falling into such things. So in the end, I would just like to say that even though there are a number of technologies coming up and there are a number of things where cyberbullying is taking place on various digital platforms, but we have to be mindful of the fact that whatever a particular act is taking place, in order to have particular provisions or proper implementations of solutions, we need to also have the psychological aspect as to why things are happening, what is going in the psyche of the individual who has committed the crime and who is going through the crime, the victim of the particular crime, what he she is going through. Because a person who has gone through a particular crime, they might even lose their self-esteem, their confidence, and a lot of long-term impacts can be there. So the psychological impact and the psychological psyche aspect, that what is going in the mind of the person, that the person has come up to this particular act in the online sphere, we need to understand that. And I would be further adding on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Disha. Professor Krishna Menon has to go for another engagement. Ma'am, I would like to call you for your final comments. Ma'am, you are on mute.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I'm really sorry that I need to leave, and I'm really grateful that you accommodated my request. I think, it was really interesting to listen to all of you, and there is a note of hope in everybody's presentation, because all of us, I think, realize that this is too good a technology for us to set aside only because of the fear of violence, and especially for the marginalized communities of our country. This can actually be a game changer, because it is a way of getting their voice heard. What we need is an overall commitment to freedom, because there are many, one keeps hearing of legislations that might clamp down on the use of social media, that could arrest you for saying this, that, or the other. So it has to be a nuanced approach. Law is very necessary, but the lawmakers should respect people's freedom of speech on the one hand, and the need for safety and security on the other hand. But I agree with everyone that apart from law, the other area that really requires our attention, and I think for people like us in universities and schools, it's really an important agenda to carry back to our workplace, is constant conversation with young people about the need to respect each other's dignity and conduct themselves with dignity. I think workshops like this, if you carry these ideas further, it would really be helpful. And maybe next time we think of inviting young people to join this kind of, I meant school, all of you are very young, but what I meant was school and college going people also to join these conversations. I think that would really make it meaningful and worthwhile. Thank you ever so much for your patience and indulgence, both. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to now move to Mr. Sahil Bharti. Sir, as a cybersecurity specialist, are there innovative solutions or tools that can help tackle cyber harassment effectively?
Right. Thank you, Swati, for inviting me and Sakshi to be able to speak on this very important topic. Now, I'm a cybersecurity practitioner, right? Kind of deal with these products and protocols and controls day in and day out for my professional life. What I really see is, the disconnect between what the community is doing to actually what we are actually doing at a professional and a corporate level. If we essentially break down cybersecurity, it comes down to three aspects, which is people, process, and technology. So, like our panelist Krishna ma'am, you spoke about the human aspect of it, an extension of our community, which is being present via the cyber forum as well. That's the people and aspect of it. Like Trisha also touched upon that. We want to kind of look at awareness, raising awareness. But what is that awareness? That is what we need to really focus on. We need to think about, okay, when we are actually putting something online or actually using or selecting the privacy settings, what is the right and the power that we're giving to that particular platform to use this particular content that we're putting on us. So from a cyber hygiene perspective, I think we cannot control what others are doing. We can obviously influence the community around us, but what we have to start work with is looking at ourselves first, looking at our own cyber hygiene first. Look at your own privacy settings on what you're allowing these platforms to use. Look at your own password management controls, like your password managers, which I really, really highly recommend to do it with your multi-factor authentication in there, because once your passwords are compromised and there's dark web monitoring out there, which actually just publishes hundreds and thousands of passwords every day in and day out. I mean, people are helpless. I had, family members who had their Instagram hacked and, had all sorts of content being sent to, all their connections. And they were like, what do I do? I'm like, it has to start from your own hygiene, like any other aspect in life. Like we maintain our own hygiene in terms of our haircuts, our nails. Cyber is also an extension of it. So we need to be aware of it, assess it, maintain it, hygiene it, in terms of reaching out to some individuals who might just know a little bit more about how to do it than what your current capabilities are. Looking it up on internet. Basically, there's so much information out there which actually gives the guidance on what you need to do to maintain your cyber hygiene. So that is something which we really need to do, especially as individuals, parents. Now, when we're talking about kids, I've got young children, right? So there is parental control softwares that are out there which we can subscribe to, and we can actually put it on their endpoint devices, which like the Gigi was kind of concerned about, with their kids, and how you want to not keep them away from, probably the smartphone and the smartphone aspect of it. That is a good thing, but we can also take control of what things they are getting exposed to at a young age by using these parental control softwares. There are technologies around it which can actually guide and block contents which are could be harmful for them. The other aspects that we would want to kind of focus on is always try and not to respond to any of such information or such bullying messages that are coming towards us. Take your time, capture it, take an evidence of it, report it, and block it. That's the worst case scenario and the ideal way forward for you to kind of do it. Rather than if you try and respond to it and try and act on it, it's just instigating the same thing over and again. And Gigi, you kind of exploited on how basically these things you have been managing them in your personal experience. So that's actually the best way forward. You need to stay safe online. You need to actually also remember that you're not alone. There are forums and there are communities around you which can actually help you, guide you on various aspects of such an incident, and actually help you also maintain a site. So yeah, people, process, and technology all have to work together to be able to create this.
Thank you. Thank you. So now I would want to move to Dr. Pavan Duggal. In your role as a cybersecurity expert, sir, and advocate in the High Court, what is your perspective on the balance between statutory measures and disciplinary measures in countering cyber harassment? Could you share your recommendation for comprehensive and effective solutions as well?
Well, at the first instance, we have to realize that the Indian law is not adequate to deal with these challenges. We don't have dedicated laws on cyberbullying or cyber harassment. The only thing that we currently have is the Indian Information Technology Act 2000, which is silent on a variety of these issues, though the 2008 amendments have given us some more elements which we can actually use for dealing with these aspects. The problem is even the amendments to the by the Information Technology Act 2000 to the Indian Penal Code has not really substantially beefed up the provisions of the Penal Code so as to be dealing with these exercises. So today, when I talk, the number one challenge for educational institutions in India is cyberbullying. However, the legal frameworks are missing. On top of it, today, when I look at cyberbullying, invariably it will involve some element of a breach of cybersecurity, whether it's of your account, whether it's of your credentials, whether it's of your data per se. So clearly, we also have to realize that India doesn't have a dedicated law on cybersecurity. In this context, you asked for my recommendations. Various steps need to be done in this direction. First, the recognition of cyberbullying as a heinous offense is the topmost priority, which currently it is not. Try searching for the term cyberbullying under the IT Act or Penal Code, and you'll be disappointed because it's not specifically covered. Try even searching for cyber harassment or cyber nuisance, and you will be further disappointed. So first, let's come up with new legal provisions which can make cyberbullying a heinous offense punishable with minimum 7 years imprisonment and fine. It has to be made a non-bailable offense, so that the guy needs to know that should he walk in the direction of cyberbullying, he's consciously walking his walk to the jail. And that deterrence is currently missing, which is of crucial interest. Number two, we are only still talking of a world of cyberbullying, which is based on the current world cyber ecosystem. However, the nature, color, and contours of the cyber ecosystem are now changing by newly emerging technologies like artificial intelligence. So when I'm now using deep fakes for the purposes of bullying another person, I'm not only doing cyberbullying, I'm also engaging in deep fake videos, wherein I realize that neither cyberbullying nor deepfake videos are covered under the existing law. So when you are using artificial intelligence algorithm as a means to go ahead and bully others, then you are looking at a different paradigm altogether. And from a law enforcement standpoint, it's complicating the scenarios. Why? Because you will first have to find out who is the real bully behind the so-called AI algorithm. And how do you join the dots? And how do you prove the relevant incriminating electronic evidence in such a manner so that the guilt of the final culprit could be well had and established in a code of law? So I think the laws should not be just made of dedicated to cyberspace. They should be alive to futuristic, new emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, like Internet of Things, and therefore the need for bullying areas to be covered in these emerging technologies is also of crucial necessity. And finally, we have contours like the metaverse coming in. We had a very interesting case recently that I did, where one of our clients, as you know, metaverse is the new version of the internet, which is current world internet plus augmented reality and virtual reality. And you are only interacting with others on the metaverse through your virtual avatars. And in a case that I handled with, one of our clients had a female avatar on the metaverse. And that female avatar on the metaverse got digitally raped by a male avatar. Now, the client was livid, was wanting us to proceed ahead with charges of digital rape. But there is a problem. The law still does not recognize the concept of digital rape. So at best, it's another form of cyberbullying, cyber-harassment. But because the legal frameworks are not adequate, I believe we are not going much ahead. Even when I look at the conviction ratio of cybercrimes generally in India, I'm disappointed because the actual conviction ratio is less than 0.5%. That's for India, the biggest, most populous nation in the world, with having the maximum cybercrimes. And now, ever since COVID-19 has come in, we have already begun to start seeing the emergence of the golden age of cybercrime, where women, children will be the more vulnerable targets. It's not that men will not be targets. It's just as that in comparison and in proportion, women and children are going to be targeted far more in this golden age of cybercrime by newly emerging kinds of cyber harassment and cyber nuisance. And on top of it, when I'm mapping up with yet another sociological phenomenon that's taking place in the Indian society, it's complicating the scenario further. In India, there's a new revolution going on without any one of us realizing it. I call this revolution the Great Indian Vomiting Revolution. Indians are vomiting data about their personal, professional, social lives on the internet without thinking of the legal ramifications. And if you think that you can start sharing your personal information on AI, think again. AI is going to use your own personal information against your own self, much to your own detriment. So here is a case which I call it as a reverse cyber bullying. Here is a gentleman, a page 3 personality, who is a Casanova of a kind, has got numerous girlfriends. People have different problems in life. He has a unique problem. His problem is, how does he manage his girlfriends? So he goes to ChatGPT by logging with his own name and says that I have these 7 girlfriends. Give the names of the 7 girlfriends and asks ChatGPT to come up with a girlfriend management plan. ChatGPT comes up with a girlfriend management plan and he implements it. Somebody devious in the office comes to know about this. So they go back to ChatGPT, mention him by name, that here is this gentleman. He's got various girlfriends. Could you name them? ChatGPT names all the 7 girlfriends. So here is now a different kind of a reverse cyber bullying that's beginning to start happening. I think we have to be mindful of these newly emerging avatars, contours, and contextual complexions of the cyber ecosystem. But all said and done, number 1, coming with new legal frameworks. Number 2, effectively train the police. Today, going to the police effectively means you're opening up a second door of a second chapter of harassment because they're completely insensitive to these issues. Number 3, the cybercrime.gov.in does not work. It's only a cybercrime reporting portal. It's not a cybercrime registration portal. Only less than 5% of the total number of instances that get reported on cybercrime.gov.in actually land up being registered as FIRs. And without FIRs, no criminal action takes place. So we have challenges there. We need to come up with more stringent, efficient mechanisms. Yes, you have the ability to even report under the National Commission of Women. But again, because the teething issues are there, and because you haven't given them sufficient kind of teeth to deal with these issues, you're finding that at best it's only coming out to be a lot of noise, but very few concrete actions being done. And finally, while all these things will require political will, it's our time right now and our duty to sensitize every digital stakeholder to adopt a new sense of due diligence. There's a need for encouraging every digital stakeholder, male, female, or child, that they must now start inculcating an element of distrust and mistrust in their minds. Let's not trust any information that I see online till such time I'm able to independently go ahead and check about its authenticity and veracity. So it's all about capacity building. All of your panelists have all hit the nails on the right heads. It's only a question of a cumulative approach which can incorporate all these suggestions so that India can potentially and effectively deal with the challenges of cyberbullying, cyber harassment, cyber stalking, and cyber nuisance, apart from cyber defamation in the coming times. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. It was in-depth information, and I'm really glad you had the time to share all of this with us. I would like to move to Sakshi Dugal. Sakshi, what is your take on the IPC and IT Act of 2000, specifically Section 66A?
Well, thank you so much, Swati, and greetings, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate all our respective panelists because they've actually touched upon different facets of all the issues that cyberbullying and cyber harassment contains. Now, coming up to the first question, which is with respect to 66A, which was removed thanks to the Shreya Singhal judgment in 2015. As Pawan sir suggested, and he mentioned that the IT Act in today's times is not equipped with all the relevant provisions that we have. Yes, we have provisions like cyber stalking, we have provisions on different mishandling that is there. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that IT Act is not enough. There's only been one amendment, that's also in 2008, sorry. But the amendments are not enough. Now, as I said, our panelists have discussed different facets, but I would like to take upon your interest to some other area. Well, there has been a lot of researches throughout India by different researchers who are working in the field of cyberbullying and cyber harassment, and they have found out some interesting insights. So in one of their researches, they were just conducting this survey with adults, and they were asking different questions. So there were three respective questions that were quite interesting. One question was where they asked that, what do they think about cyberbullying? So 80% of adults actually thought that cyberbullying is only for children. That means below 18. The another question was that what should be done for cyberbullying? And the answer was, well, the government is responsible. We are the citizens of this country, and the government is responsible to bring certain laws and legislations. And the third one was, how do you report? How many of you know actually where to report when you are a victim of a cyberbullying attack? And 95% people had no idea how to report or where to report. These are some critical questions that we have to ask ourselves in today's times. There are a lot of myths, a lot of lack of information in today's times with respect to cyber harassment. For that, I have this framework, which I call it as AKR framework, in which A stands for awareness and adaptability. Well, awareness, obviously, we all know that knowledge holds the utmost importance when we talk about cyber harassment. We have to be aware of certain trends. As discussed with our panelists, new upcoming cases are coming up, new technologies are coming up through which new kinds of attacks, especially cyber harassment attacks, are taking place in our respective societies. We have to make ourselves aware, but at the same time, we have to adapt and accept the fact that it's not just the government's responsibility or the judiciary's responsibility to come up with certain laws. Because there is this famous saying which says that coming up with a law is one thing, and implementing that law is a different ballgame altogether. Yes, I definitely agree that in today's times, we don't have enough sufficient laws in place with respect to cyber harassment. But at the same time, are we ourselves aware, and do we hold ourselves responsible of being careless of this aspect? If in today's times, adults are not considering cyberbullying as a phenomena for themselves as well, I mean, it's time to wake up. Cyberbullying is not just for kids. It's for every single person on this planet. We all know about trolling. Generally, people associate trolling with celebrities. That, okay, it's quite common for celebrities to get trolled. But let me tell you that trolling is a common phenomena. It's just that we don't realize that trolling is happening with us. So that's A. A stands for knowledge. Now, when I talk about knowledge, yes, awareness is fine. Programs like these, there are different sessions and workshops that take place on cyber harassment. That's one part. But the second part is, what are you doing? Equip yourselves. New technologies like artificial intelligence, metaverse are coming up, where cyber criminals 24/7 are coming up with new ways to actually hamper our respective dignity in the form of new ways of cyber harassment. So knowing new trends as to what kind of trends are taking place can actually help us and give us an edge over these cyber criminals. Last but not the least is R, that is reporting. Now, this is a huge issue. As a common man, no one knows what to do. If one gets trolled, if one is a victim of cyber stalking or cyber harassment, they have no clue what to do. In a lot of cases, they just discuss with their parents and teachers, but unfortunately, a lot of them also have no idea as to what are the measures that one can take. For that, I have two solutions. One is the government website, which is the cybercrime.gov.in. This is the government's official portal for actually lodging the official complaint or any cyber or online financial fraud case. If you have faced any sexual harassment in the cyberspace, then you can definitely report here. That's one. And number two is this helpline number called 1930. This is again government's official helpline number where you can actually go and report. But yes, coming back to the point, if you feel that you are not a potential victim of being cyber harassed, then you're wrong. Because being on the internet is just like being in the ocean, and you can't predict when the shark will come. Shark can definitely come, but the fact of the matter is, are you aware of what to do when the shark is around you? Are you aware what are the steps one can take in order to combat these kind of situations? That's the main issue in today's times. Therefore, my urge is to all the respective students as well as adults. Again, not just students, adults as well, because cyberbullying is a common phenomena for all of us, irrespective of our age, our backgrounds, our working experience. We all can get bullied by anyone. That's the beauty of the cyberspace. A 12-year-old kid can actually cyberbully a 60-year-old gentleman. You might have no idea who's there on the other side. But the fact of the matter is, at the end, if you can actually have certain resources with you where to report, if you know different kinds of trends that are coming up in the space of cyber harassment, and last but not the least, if you are brave enough to report and discuss with your peers, then definitely this huge problem of cyber harassment can actually be combated in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sakshi. Moving on, I would like to invite Ms. Smita Bharti, ma'am, to give her inputs on what collaborated efforts do you believe are essential among different stakeholders to tackle emerging challenges associated with cyber harassment.
Thank you, Swati, and thank you all the panelists who are here today. In fact, this couldn't have been a better panel to give me the information on what I really need to be talking about, because each one of you has really brought up an aspect in the absence of which the rest of things will not work. So whether we are talking about awareness that is required, whether it is with educational institutes, whether it's with parents, whether it's with guardians, whether it is with communities who are actually, or whether it is the cybersecurity communities online which are there, all of these need to come together, and they need to have the knowledge and the information and the awareness on what is the harm that is possible, and how do you actually put in mechanisms to mitigate that harm or mitigate the risk of that harm. Whether we're talking about, and we spoke about some of the social media, you spoke about the social media platforms and the technology companies, and you spoke about how it's critically important for them to actually have policies in place which are effective and are implemented in order to actually, integrate the safety measures that and safety features that we all require over here to have a secure experience of using those platforms, which is often the site of the worst form of violence that Professor Krishna brought to light for everybody. And I agree with her when she said that this is just but an extension of what is happening in our social fabric. And it's sad and kind of disturbing to see how we have provided yet another platform for this kind of violence to be implemented by perpetrators who can get away with impunity, as per what Dr. Pawan Dugal has to say, that we don't have the structures or the laws or the legal frameworks which are in place, which allows experiences like what's happened with me or what's happened with Taran and all the people who dare to put their voice out and speak up and speak out and call out the kind of atrocities or the kind of microaggressions that we are being subjected to, and then the kind of backlash and retaliation that we have with impunity. So how do we create those legal provisions and those legal frameworks to bring them together? And like what you said, Sakshi, having a law is one thing, but implementing is totally another game. And we know it. Who knows it better than us? We brought about the Vishakha directions in 1997 through the public interest litigation we did in 1992 and got the act in place and the rules and regulations in place in 2013, 2015 respectively. And yet, workplace sexual harassment is such a reality. And now with cyberspace and the cyber ecology, we have yet another platform for this sexual harassment and this sexual bullying and this sexual abuse to get perpetuated. And yet we do not know how do we extend those frameworks, the existing frameworks, how do we extend them to bring all of this within the purview of what it requires for that it to become a non-bailable offense and get these people to, actually receive the punishment that they deserve. And at least have the fear of the law over there. And the impact, like what Drisha you brought into the table over here, mental health is something which is so ignored. And yes, you're so right. It's only with COVID that we actually started giving adequate attention to mental health issues and mental health as a subject or as an issue that needs attention. And what we do not recognize even today, what we do not really understand is that a woman or a person, anybody who goes through sexual abuse, whether it is online or offline, is equivalent to the trauma that you experience if you are exposed to a high conflict zone. That is something that we do not even take into consideration. And we say we're just supposed to manage it. We're just supposed to go ahead with it and go on being productive in this capitalist society and just keep doing our bit without getting any understanding, acknowledgement, visibility, or holding space to the trauma that we are being subjected to as a result of these microaggressions to the major cyberbullying and harassment and sexual abuse that's happening with such impunity. And yes, we do need research institutions to actually come in and bring it all together and tie it up and say, this is the prevalence, this is the impact, this is the evidence, these are the actions that we need to take into place. And yes, the government has to do its bit by actually giving us the frameworks that we need and creating spaces for professionals like what Sahil you bring to the table. Make it mandatory. If this is the era that we are living in, where we are swamped in the cyberspace and we are swamped by everything which is about the digital space, then it needs to become mandatory to see what is the cyber hygiene that you have multiple devices. We are logged in from 6 devices at the same time into multiple platforms and we are going in there like a child running over across steep ravine, like on either side, and once one misstep, and we are going to fall so deep into that rabbit hole that it's going to be difficult to come out of it. So this education that we're talking about, this information science that you're bringing onto the table of cyber hygiene needs to become like a mandatory thing, that mandatory subject information for the young and the old. So not limited to just the institutions or organizations or corporations or businesses big and small to protect their IP or protect their finances. It needs to be about the human cost. The humans who are actually the ones who are putting it all in place are the ones who really need to be protected from the impact of this cyberbullying ecology that all of us have kind of actually highlighted over here in this panel. And I'm quite overwhelmed, and I can see there's so much work for us to do. We have over 3 decades committed to interrupting the cycle of gender-based violence and sexual violence, and we have yet another frontier which we are exposed to now, and we can see that it's only with all of us coming together, bringing in all these aspects together, whether it is awareness, education, technology, law enforcement, mental health, research, and advocacy with the government, and cybersecurity, hygiene. If all of this is going to come together, then maybe together, like Taran, you said, that we all have to co-travelers come together and maybe create a universe or the metaverse where avatars. Actually, I mean, that was really quite shocking for me to hear the story, Dr. Pawan, you shared, and thank you so much for bringing that to the forefront here. But then maybe we can create a universe, as we know, and the metaverse that everybody is talking about now, which I'm not very well versed with. Worse. But yeah, we definitely need to go back to be committing to a space, which is my favorite quote, where the head is held high and the mind is without fear in the cyber ecology. Thank you. Swati, you're on mute.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry that I forgot. I would like to now ask you all for your final comments on this discussion on preventing cyber harassment in India. Starting with Sir Pawan Dugal. Sir, would you want to conclude with your final comments?
Swati, there's a question from Shivapriya in the chat.
We can take the question first.
Yes. Swati, do you want to take the question and open it up to the panel?
Okay, ma'am. I'll take the question first. So we have 2 questions. One from Shivapriya. Stop the comment button seems effective, but how do we navigate and negotiate the no engagement versus calling out the bully?
Swati, can I answer this question?
Yes.
Yeah, I think his question is in response to when I said that when the bullying goes out of hand or the harassment goes out of hand, the best is, which happened to one of my releases on Instagram on sex education, where the views crossed 17 million, but after a point I had to request the channel to stop the comment button. And in fact, the suggestion came from them and they said it could affect the views. And I think, so yes, as an individual, if you are in a social media space and you're probably making a livelihood out of it, which is not, in my case, it's not the only source of income. So it doesn't really much, but somewhere you have to make a choice whether you are ready to give up on the kind of engagement it will get if the comments keep pouring, because half of the time when bullying and trolling happens, you will see that the trollers are fighting between themselves. Someone's putting a comment, someone's answering, another person's answering, so they are fighting among themselves, and the actual person, the influencer who's posted something, is not engaged anywhere in the commenting section. rather than first one or two comments where you would just generously say a thank you. So obviously it is up to you as an individual. Uh, it does lie, the responsibility does lie a lot on the company, on the channel that is hiring you for the, that whatever content you have created. If they are in sync with you, they do take the responsibility that if you are bullied beyond a certain extent, they are ready to close down the comments. But my personal experience was that once the video was viral, even stopping the comments did not affect the engagement of the piece. So if the content is good, it will get engagement. But yes, you have to be aware as a person on social media that it could affect the engagement. So it's your own personal choice and the choice of the channel or the sponsor whether they are ready to take that step to stop if it is going to affect the engagement. Because end of the day, as Drishya said, I think your mental health should be the foremost priority, and none, I mean, you have to just accept that stopping comments or engagement on one post is not going to be the end of the world. Life goes on beyond that.
Very well said. The second question is from Ravinder Mishra. He asks, sometimes people express their opinions under the grab of freedom of speech and expression. How to tackle bullying in such cases?
I think we have to be very clear that your right to freedom of speech and expression is not an absolute right. In India, it's subject to certain reasonable restrictions under Article 19(2) of the Constitution of India, which are and can be imposed in the form of or in the interest of sovereignty, security, integrity of India, friendly relations with other nations, public order, decency, defamation, morality, or to prevent the commission of any cognizable offense. So clearly, you have a right to speak, you have a right to express, but you don't have a right to cyberbully. That is very, very crystal clear, and that's the legal position in India. Unfortunately, in India, people still believe that they are anonymous online. People still believe that they can do anything online which they want to do without any fear that they are going to be tracked. When today, interception is at such high levels that you can, and all your activities can effectively be tracked down to a particular IP address or your particular MAC address as well. So I think people need to be careful of how they deal with this entire scenario. The courts, the Supreme Court is crystal clear. You have a right to express, you do not have a right to defame. So let's have that very, very clear. The right to defame includes the right to bully. And no constitution, no law gives you either the right to defame or the right to bully. Thanks.
Very well said.
Another question. Deep fake technology and fake news have posed new challenges for people on social media. How do we protect ourselves from it?
Well, anyone can take the answer. I can quickly say, look, you are right now in a radiation chamber. There is radiation all around. I'm expecting you to please wear an anti-radiation suit. Don't expect deepfakes only to come off Alia Bhatts and the Katrina Kaifs of the world. You, me, I, everybody are potential victims, potential subjects of deepfakes. So let's now learn, as I said, to start having a culture of distrust and mistrust. Let's learn not to trust what we see. Let's learn not to trust what we hear. But again, go back on our intrinsic research capabilities to go onto the public domain to find out what's true or not true. That is the only way forward. Otherwise, if at all you become a victim of deepfake, please give a promise to yourself and to others that you will not be quiet. You will not go out in the dark alone. You will make a noise about it. You must not just report this to the existing legal authorities, whether it's cybercrime.gov.in, 1930. You must talk to everybody, including on all your social media, that this is my deepfake. This is not mine. Please don't rely upon it. Please come into the zone of being a victim, declaring yourself to be a victim. There's no shame in doing that. Once you do that, then thereafter, the chances of potentially suffering legal injury is going to be much, much lesser. And now people slowly start getting immune to the fact that there's a deepfake. So what? There are deepfakes of everybody. So let's learn to start living with deepfake, but let's learn to only share our information on a need-to-know basis. If I give all of my personal photographs online, they are ready fodder, ready raw materials for deepfakes to go on to the next level. But if I'm selective in what I actually go ahead and share in the public domain, then relatively you can be much, much more safer from becoming a victim of deepfakes. Thanks. Back to others.
So very rightly said, we have to be conscious of what we share online. And now I will want to call Sir for his final comments.
I think, thank you first and foremost. Congratulations for doing this remarkable webinar. I've been listening. I've been driving on the road, but I've been listening to each of the panelists. And I can tell you, there's everything, a new element that has to be a part of our lives. And each of the experiences that the panelists have told up has actually set your mind thinking. Are we doing enough? We're not doing enough. Can we be a drop in the ocean? Yes, we can. How can we replicate our drops in the ocean? That has to be our agenda. We are clearly outnumbered. The small population of cyber criminals is all out to harass all of us. Let's realize that in this ecosystem, let's first be safe. Let's remember the announcement on the aircraft when we are about to get up. Please fasten your own seat belt and then fasten the seat belts of others who are dependent on you. I think the onus is on us to not share information with others at all. We share information on a need-to-know basis. Let's not be emotional online. Let's realize that everything that I do online has got legal ramifications. Let's not leave behind our electronic footprints in such a manner that they can be misused by cyber criminals. And finally, let's try to work together in sensitizing our friends, family, peers, so as to let them all contribute in making cyberspace a more secure space as we go forward. It's a long journey. It's not happening tomorrow morning. It may not even happen in the next 5 years. But yes, with now new disruptive technologies coming in, the ambit, the remit, and the expansion of cybercrime is going beyond comprehension. Therefore, more efforts like these will have to be done in almost all directions. As they say in Hindi, sarvangeen vikas. So you'll have to have a 360-degree viewpoint and an approach when you deal with challenges like this. And I think everybody has to contribute in this regard. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Smita Bharti, ma'am, were you saying something?
I was just appreciating Dr. Pawan Duggal, and I'm sorry, I just was.
Thank you.
Next, I would want to invite Mr. Sahil Bharti to give his closing remarks.
No, thank you so much. It was a pleasure attending this meeting. I think I can't, for any points that have been raised by any of the panelists, just like Dr. Pawan just said, it has to start from within. We have to look at ourselves first. The first step is always the hardest one. Make that, have that mandatory routine within ourselves to actually be cautious about what privacy settings we are actually putting on while we're using these social media apps, what controls we have, and like Sakshi mentioned, know what to do, because it's not a matter of how, it's a matter of when. And when it happens, we need to know what are the next steps and what are the go-to points. So have that plan, and we need to educate everybody around us. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sahil Bharti. Now I would want to ask Dr. Yuki Azad for her parting comments.
Everybody else have discussed it in detail. And yes, spreading awareness, and thanks to Sakshi, thanks to all of you that you have already initiated this effort to inform people about it, educate about it, and behavior change is a long, drawn process, and awareness and education is the first step. We really need to move towards it. And good luck for this journey. And I'm so happy that we all have gathered here and started this initiative, and this should go a long way. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would want to invite Sakshi Duggal to please give his parting comments.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to congratulate on this wonderful initiative, because it's the need of the hour in today's times. Well, concluding, just have 3 points. One is that the blame game won't work. Companies can't blame individuals that individuals are careless, and individuals can't blame that the companies are not coming up with certain rules and policies. It's collaborative effort, and if both the parties are coming together, then only we can actually fight or combat this issue of cyber harassment. That's one. Number two is definitely enhancing your knowledge constantly with the upcoming trends which are coming up in this field. And number three is that having online awareness. If you have online awareness as to what to write, when to write, and not swaying in the emotions, as Pawan sir said, then I'm definitely sure automatically cyber hygiene will be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Disha, would you like to give your parting comments?
Thank you. Firstly, I would like to say a huge thank you because I think every person here present here had been successful in imparting something new to the table and quite prevalent to today's time as well. And we've had so far a wonderful session. So, in the end, I would just like to say that let's be mindful of two things, especially that mental health is no more an option, but it's your priority, it's your necessity. And second thing, that when there is no limit to having cyber crimes, when the cyber criminals don't put any limit or any bar to conducting these crimes, then why should we have any limit to having solutions? Why should we have any limit to having such kind of solutions that can help in our mental health and also improving the status of living? So I would like to highlight these 2 points and just want to say that whenever a person is going through cyberbullying, anybody, they should remember the 3S, that is share, seek support, and secure. Because these three things can help you in the immediate effect as well as in the long term as well. So let's cyber educate each other, but also psycho educate, because cyber educate would only conduct the or include the cyber aspect, that what we should do and what we shouldn't do. But let's also be aware of the psycho educating aspects, that what to do when the person has gone through a particular thing, where the victim has gone through a cybercrime, what is the next step to cope up emotionally, mentally, because that is where the whole challenge of having the willpower and dealing with the crime comes up to. So that's from my end. Thank you.
Disha, thank you so much. In fact, Madhuri from the audience has addressed a question specifically to you. She's asking, she would want to know about study options for students interested in the course in cyber psychology at master's level.
Okay. So firstly, for cyber psychology, there are very limited courses. And if you would want to go into the field of cyber psychology specifically, I would recommend you to go through your UG and masters in psychology for sure. But for cyber psychology, there are more scope outside India as well. And for within India, you have a lot of online courses. So I would really encourage you that you should, if you're really interested in this field, please go through those courses, especially on Coursera and Udemy. I would recommend you to go through that because that really sets the base for you. And if you want to really get into the profession, please do have a master's degree in psychology as well.
Thank you. I hope Madhuri has got her answer. And now I would want to bring in Taranjeet ma'am for her closing remarks.
Hi, I just want to thank you for having me on this panel, and I am really taking back a lot of information and a lot of learnings from everybody, whether it's looking after one's mental health, as Prisha said, what Sahil said, to look after the cyber hygiene on a daily basis, what Dr. Pawan said, that it should be reported and it should be a punishable offense. But I think the biggest takeaway is that if we all collectively take responsibility of spreading more and more awareness about cyberbullying and about how we can deal with it, how we can handle it, no matter what age group, as someone mentioned, we could be 6 or 60, but we could be facing trolling or bullying online, and how we can deal with it, how we can report, what are the numbers, what are the channels we can reach out to, and how we can safeguard ourselves in terms of taking measures to protect ourselves, that how much information are we going to put out there on social media or any kind of platform. I think those are the measures, and it was wonderful being a part of it.
Thank you. And in the end, I would want to invite Smita ma'am to say a few words and give her parting remarks.
What do I say except that dark web and cybercrime is no longer science fiction or a horror show. It is the reality of our lives. And just like we're working on Russian radars, we need to be informed light warriors. We need to educate ourselves and others to be able to build a secure cyber ecology around everything that's been spoken up within this panel today. And I really want to thank the panelists once again for coming onto this platform and starting this journey with us to see what is it that we need to do if we need to have a world with a secure cyber ecology. So thank you, Swati. I really want to give you a big round of applause for putting this together and being such a wonderful moderator and actually holding us all and egging us all and provoking us all with your questions so that we are able to all bring together the various aspects that we need to actually consider, ruminate upon, and come up with solutions for. So thank you, Swati.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It is really encouraging to hear these words from you. And now I would want to conclude the program by saying, as we draw the curtains on this insightful and thought-provoking discussion, I am filled with immense gratitude for the collective wisdom and expertise that have been shared in this critical issue of cyber harassment panel discussion. The depth of our conversation has illuminated the complex nature of this challenge and underscored the urgency of a collaborated action. Thank you so much. As we conclude today's discussion, let us carry forward the insights gained, the challenges identified, and the solutions proposed. Cyber harassment requires a united front, one that involves legal measures, awareness campaigns, digital literacy promotion, and collaboration among stakeholders. Each one of us plays a crucial role in creating a safer online space for everyone. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our panelists for sharing their expertise and for our audience for their active participation. Let us remain committed to the cause as we strive for a future where the digital landscape is free from the shadows of cyber harassment. Thank you. Thank you, and may our collective effort pave the way for a safer and more inclusive digital world. Thank you so much.
फैशन के नाम पर बस अब नंगा ही घूमना बाकी रह गया है, वो भी कर लो। हेल्प चाहिए तो मेरा नंबर दूं?
अरे तुझे दिखाना है तो पूरा दिखाना। ये टीजर क्या देके जा रही है?
शॉट लगाएंगे, ज्यादा बोलेगी तो तेरी पिक्चर एडिट करके वायरल कर दूंगा।
घर पे आने का कितना लेगी?
ए चल चुप रंडी, बड़ी गंदी सी है, घोड़े जैसा मुंह है उसका, कुछ भी नहीं है आगे तुम्हारे।
फेक साली, धरती पर बोझ हो, तुम जैसे लोग मर क्यों नहीं जाते? I want sisters of such comedians to be raped, so that they go in depression and stop cracking sick jokes.
पॉपुलर होना है ना तेरे को? मैं करता हूँ तुझे पॉपुलर। छोटे कपड़े, ये भी क्या है?
Feminist you have got on sounds nice.
कोई क्लास ही नहीं है।
I wonder what color sneakers she has
What?
got.
She has no headlights, no bumper, huh?
सर्विस अवेलेबल।
What's your rate?
इसको इंडिया में बैन ही करो।
ऐसे नाइट सूट
पूरे
में आ
इंडियन
गई।
कल्चर की वाट लगा ली।
पूरे मुंह पे बस वोट दिख रहा है।
Learn to dress like a woman.
क्यों खुला हुआ है? और फैबुलस का है। टॉक्स को लंबी है।
कितना लेगी? सब कपड़े बोल दो ना।
Sometimes it's fun.
जैसे
Go
कि
wild
इंडिया में
and
बैन ही
get
कर दिया।
that
पूरे इंडियन
feminist you
कल्चर
have
की
got
वाट
on
लगा ली।
sounds
Not
nice.
attractive enough for
I
all
wonder
those
what
who
color
बात
sneakers
करने
she
की
has
कोशिश
got.
खुला हुआ है?
मेरे घर पे मेरा जरा
रिपोर्ट करो।